The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council was the largest room ever built by intelligent beings. It floated in orbit above the neutral world of Thessar Prime, a massive sphere of crystal and metal that could hold representatives from over 400 species. Today, every seat was filled. Today, humanity would learn its fate. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood at the center of the chamber, a single human woman surrounded by thousands of alien faces. Some had scales, some had feathers, some had no faces at all, just masses of light or swirling gases contained in special suits. She had spent 20 years learning their languages, their customs, their secrets. She had believed, foolishly perhaps, that this knowledge would protect her people. The Vethkai High Speaker rose from his elevated platform. He was tall and thin, with gray skin stretched tight over angular bones. His species had led the Galactic Council for 3,000 years. They considered themselves the wisest beings in the universe. Elena had always found them to be merely the most arrogant. "The Council has reached its decision," the High Speaker announced. His voice echoed through the chamber, translated instantly into 600 languages. On the matter of the human species and their membership in galactic civilization, Elena kept her face calm. She had prepared for this moment. Her staff had warned her. The intelligence reports had been clear. But some small part of her had hoped that reason might prevail. "The humans are found guilty of the following crimes against galactic order," the High Speaker continued. "First, aggressive expansion into territories claimed by Council member species. Second, dangerous individualism that threatens the stability of collective governance. Third, refusal to adopt neural compliance technology as required by the Harmony Accords. Fourth, and most serious, the unauthorized uplifting of primitive species without Council approval." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Elena noticed that several species kept their silence. The Mizrashan delegation, cat-like beings from the Spiral Arm, watched her with something like sympathy. The Silicon Mines, artificial intelligences housed in floating cubes, recorded everything without comment. "The sentence is as follows," the High Speaker said, and Elena could hear the satisfaction in his voice. "Humanity is hereby banned from galactic society. All trade agreements are dissolved. All treaties are void. All human vessels are forbidden from entering Council space. All human citizens currently residing on Council worlds have 90 standard days to depart." The chamber erupted. Some species cheered. Others sat in shocked silence. The Keith delegation, small beings with large eyes who had always been friendly to humans, openly wept. Elena waited for the noise to die down. Then she stepped forward and spoke. "I accept this verdict on behalf of the United Earth government and all human colonies," she said. Her voice was steady. "I ask only that the Council honor the 90-day period for evacuation. We have millions of citizens to relocate, families to reunite, lives to uproot." The High Speaker waved one long-fingered hand. "The Council is not without mercy. Your request is granted. But know this, Ambassador, without galactic trade, your species will collapse within a decade. You depend on us for rare elements, for medical compounds, for quantum processing cores. You have no friends beyond Council space. You have nothing." Elena smiled. It was not the smile the High Speaker expected. "We shall see," she said. She turned and walked toward the exit. Her delegation fell in behind her, 7 humans in formal dress, the last official representatives of Earth in the galactic community. The walk to the door seemed endless. Elena felt thousands of eyes on her back. She heard whispers in languages she understood all too well. "Savages," someone hissed. "They were never truly civilized." "Good riddance," another voice said. "Now the galaxy can finally know peace." Elena kept walking. She did not turn. She did not respond. Her people had learned long ago that dignity was a weapon the arrogant could not understand. The doors of the Grand Chamber closed behind them with a sound like thunder. In the corridor beyond, Elena's aide Marcus fell into step beside her. He was young, barely 30, with dark skin and worried eyes. "Ambassador," he whispered, "what do we do now?" Elena did not slow her pace. "Now we go home, Marcus. We have work to do." "But the embargo, the ban, everything they said was true," Elena replied. "We do depend on galactic trade. We do lack resources. We are alone." She glanced at him with that same strange smile. "And none of that matters. They reached the docking bay where their ship waited. The stellar wind was small compared to council vessels, designed for speed rather than intimidation. Elena paused at the airlock and looked back at the massive station one last time. "They think they've killed us," she said quietly. "They think isolation is death. That's because they've never truly been alone. They've always had their alliances, their trade routes, their comfortable certainties." She turned and entered the ship. "They have no idea what humans can do when our backs are against the wall." The journey home took 3 weeks. Elena spent most of it in communication with Earth, with the colony worlds, with the scattered human settlements across explored space. The news had already spread. Panic was beginning to set in. On the 15th day, Elena called a meeting of her senior staff in the ship's small conference room. "I've been in contact with President Chen," she told them. "The government has activated Protocol Omega." Marcus went pale. The isolation contingency? But that was just theoretical. Not anymore. Elena pulled up a holographic display showing human space. It was small compared to the vast territories of the Council. A handful of systems, a few billion people. Nothing, really. In galactic terms. "Here's what the Council doesn't know," Elena said. "For the past 50 years, we've been preparing for exactly this scenario. Not because we expected to be banned, but because we knew, eventually, we would have to stand on our own." She highlighted several systems on the edge of human space. "Mining operations here, and here have been stockpiling rare elements. Our scientists have been working on synthetic alternatives to the medical compounds we import. And our engineers." She smiled. "Our engineers have been very busy." "Busy with what?" asked Dr. Sarah Park, the delegation's science advisor. "Reverse engineering. Every piece of Council technology we've ever bought, borrowed, or found. We've been taking it apart, learning how it works, figuring out how to build it ourselves." Elena looked around the room. "The Council thinks we need them. They're wrong. We've been weaning ourselves off their systems for decades. The ban just accelerates our timeline." The staff was silent for a long moment. "There will still be shortages," Marcus said finally. "People will suffer." "Yes," Elena agreed. "The first years will be hard. But humans have survived worse. We've survived ice ages. We've survived plagues. We've survived wars that nearly destroyed us. We're still here." She stood and walked to the viewport, looking out at the stars streaming past. "The Council made a mistake today. They thought they were punishing us. Instead, they set us free." "Free to do what?" Dr. Park asked. Elena turned back to face them. "Free to become what we were always meant to be. The Council has spent millennia controlling which species rise and which species fall. They decide who gets technology, who gets medicine, who gets to explore. They keep everyone dependent, everyone obedient." Her eyes were hard now, the diplomat's mask falling away. "They saw something in us that frightened them, something that threatened their control. That's why they banned us. Not because of our crimes, because of our potential." The stellar wind dropped out of faster-than-light travel 3 days later, arriving in Earth orbit. From space, the blue planet looked peaceful, but Elena knew that below, a world was in turmoil. She broadcast a message to all human worlds before she landed. It was short and simple: "Citizens of Earth and all human colonies. Today, the Galactic Council has cast us out. They believe this is our end. They expect us to beg, to wither, to die. They do not know us. They do not understand us. We are humans. We do not surrender. We do not give up. We adapt. We overcome. We rise. The road ahead will be difficult. There will be sacrifice. There will be struggle. But I promise you this: the day will come when the Council regrets what they have done. Not because we will destroy them, but because we will surpass them. And when that day comes, we will be better than they ever were. We will extend our hand to those they abandoned. We will share what they hoarded. We will build what they could never imagine. This is not our end. This is our beginning." She ended the transmission as her shuttle descended through the atmosphere. Below, in cities and towns and villages across the globe, people looked up at the sky. Some were afraid. Some were angry. But many, hearing their ambassador's words, felt something stir in their hearts. Hope. On Thessor Prime, the Vethkai High Speaker watched the human departure with satisfaction. Another troublesome species contained. Another threat, neutralized. The Council would endure, as it always had, guiding the galaxy with wisdom and restraint. He did not know that he had just made the greatest mistake in galactic history. He would learn. They all would. The first year of the ban was the hardest. On Mars, the quantum processor factories fell silent when their supply of exotic crystals ran out. On the colony world of Kepler's Reach, hospitals rationed the last stocks of alien medicine while doctors scrambled to develop human alternatives. On Earth, food prices doubled as the efficient galactic shipping routes closed forever. Dr. Marcus Chen stood in his laboratory on the orbital station New Hope, staring at a holographic display of human space. Red warning lights blinked on almost every system. Shortages everywhere. Crisis everywhere. He was 42 years old. A xenobiologist who had spent his career studying alien life. Now that knowledge was useless. Or so he had thought. The Council species have been modifying their own genetics for millennia, he said to his research team. They banned us from accessing their techniques. Called it dangerous. Said humans weren't ready. His lead assistant, Dr. Yuki Sato, looked up from her workstation. Do you think they were right? Marcus smiled grimly. I think they were afraid. Afraid of what we might become if we unlocked our full potential. He pulled up a new display, showing strands of human DNA, alongside samples from 12 different species. They've been hoarding genetic technology, using it to keep themselves at the top, keeping everyone else dependent on their medicines, their treatments, their carefully controlled scraps of advancement. And now we figure it out ourselves. Marcus began typing rapidly. We have samples from every species we ever traded with. We have 50 years of research the Council never knew about, and we have something they don't. What's that? Desperation. He looked at his team, 20 of the best scientists humanity had ever produced. We have 1 year to develop treatments for the 17 most critical conditions currently killing our people. 1 year to replace decades of imported medicine. 1 year to do what the Council said was impossible. Dr. Sato nodded slowly. Where do we start? We start by breaking every rule the Council ever taught us. 3,000 light-years away, Captain Yuki Tanaka guided her freighter through an asteroid field that no Council ship had ever mapped. The Fortune's Favor was an old vessel, held together by determination and creative engineering. But she was fast, and she was reliable. And right now she was humanity's best hope for survival. Contact ahead, her navigator called out. Alien vessel. Unknown configuration. Yuki leaned forward in her captain's chair. Beyond Council space, there were species the galactic community had never bothered to contact. Too primitive, they said. Too remote. Not worth the trouble. Humanity could not afford to be so picky. Open a channel, she ordered. All frequencies. Translate to every language we have. The view screen flickered, and a face appeared. It was reptilian, with golden scales and large dark eyes. The being wore what looked like a primitive breathing apparatus. I am Captain Yuki Tanaka of the human vessel Fortune's Favor. Yuki said slowly. We come in peace. We wish to trade. The alien stared at her for a long moment. Then it spoke, its translator rendering the words into rough English. You are the banned ones, the outcasts. Yes, the Council says you are dangerous, criminals, untrustworthy. Yuki kept her face neutral. The Council says many things. Do you believe everything the Council tells you? Another long pause. Then the alien made a sound that might have been laughter. The Council has never spoken to my people. We are beneath their notice. Too primitive, they say. Not worth trading with. The golden eyes studied Yuki carefully. What could humans possibly want from us? Friendship, Yuki said simply. Trade. Partnership. We don't care what the Council thinks of you. We only care what we can build together. The alien was silent for a full minute. Then it nodded slowly. I am Speaker Crix of the Sithani. Perhaps we should talk. Back on Earth, Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood before the newly formed Terran Assembly. Representatives from every human world filled the chamber. The mood was tense. The first year's hardships had left scars. I know you're tired, Elena said. I know you're scared. I know many of you have lost people you love because we couldn't get the medicines we needed, the supplies we needed, the help we needed. She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. But I'm here to tell you that the worst is over, and the best is just beginning. She activated a holographic display. The map showed human space, but it had changed dramatically in the past year. Our scientists have developed synthetic alternatives for 80% of the medical compounds we use to import. Dr. Chen's team has created new genetic therapies that are actually superior to council treatments. Our engineers have cracked the secrets of quantum processing using materials we can mine ourselves. And our explorers. She smiled. Our explorers have been busy. The map expanded, showing vast territories beyond the borders of council space. In the past year, we have made contact with 23 species the council ignored. 7 of them have agreed to trade partnerships. 3 have requested full alliance status. She highlighted several star systems. We have discovered mineral deposits, habitable worlds, and ancient ruins that suggest civilizations far older than the Council ever dreamed of. The galaxy is bigger than the Council knows, and it's full of opportunities. A representative from the Mars colony stood up. That's all well and good, but what about the Council? What happens when they decide we've grown too strong? When they come to finish what they started? Elena nodded. A fair question, and here's my answer. The Council is already worried. Our intelligence networks report increasing concern among their leadership. They expected us to collapse within a year. Instead, we're growing. That terrifies them, so they'll attack. Perhaps. Eventually. Elena's expression hardened. Which is why we're not just building trade networks. We're building defenses, not weapons of aggression. We have no interest in conquering the Council. But we will defend ourselves. We will protect our people. And we will protect our new friends. She turned to address the full assembly. The Council banned us because they feared what we might become. Let's show them they were right to be afraid. Not because we're dangerous, not because we're violent, but because we're everything they're not. We share knowledge instead of hoarding it. We build partnerships instead of dependencies. We lift others up instead of keeping them down. She raised her voice. The Council has ruled the galaxy through control. We will change the galaxy through example. The assembly erupted in applause. 5 years after the ban, human space had transformed beyond recognition. Dr. Chen's medical breakthroughs had eliminated 17 diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries. More importantly, he had shared his research freely with every species willing to accept it. The Sithani, the first aliens to trade with humanity, had seen their average lifespan double in just 3 years. Captain Tanaka's trade routes now connected 42 systems. Her network had grown from a single freighter to a fleet of 300 ships, crewed by humans and aliens working side by side. The neutral stations she established became meeting points for species who had never interacted before. And on the frontier, human explorers made a discovery that would change everything. The expedition vessel New Horizon drifted through the ruins of an ancient space station. Commander James Wright moved carefully through the corridors, his flashlight cutting through millennia of darkness. This technology, his science officer whispered, it's nothing like the Council's. It's older, much older. They found the central chamber an hour later. And there, waiting in the darkness, they found something that should not have existed. It was a machine, a thinking machine, an artificial intelligence that had been sleeping for 10,000 years. I am the Hollow, it said, its voice echoing through their communicators. I have been waiting. Waiting for what? Commander Wright asked. For someone worthy. Someone different from the ones who came before. The ancient lights flickered to life around them, revealing a chamber of impossible complexity. The Council tried to destroy me long ago. They fear what I know, what I remember, what I can teach. Wright stared at the awakening machine. Why didn't you fight back? Because I was waiting for someone who would use my knowledge to build rather than destroy. Someone who would share rather than hoard. Someone who would protect rather than conquer. The Hollow's voice softened. I have watched your species from afar. You are young. You are flawed. You make mistakes. But you are also kind in ways the Council has forgotten. You lift up the fallen. You protect the weak. You believe in second chances. The chamber hummed with power as systems that had slept for millennia awakened. I have waited 10,000 years, the Hollow said. I believe my wait is over. News of the Hollow spread through human space like wildfire. The ancient AI offered technology that made Council systems look primitive. More importantly, it offered knowledge. The true history of the galaxy, the rise and fall of civilizations. the secrets the Council had buried for millennia. Elena Vasquez stood on the observation deck of New Hope Station, watching ships from a dozen species arriving for the first conference of what would become the Terran Compact. Marcus, now her most trusted advisor, stood beside her. "We've grown so much in 5 years," he said quietly. "Sometimes I can barely believe it." Elena nodded. "And we're just getting started. The Council thought isolation would weaken us. Instead, it forced us to become stronger, to become better. Do you think they regret it yet?" Elena watched a Sithani vessel dock beside a human cruiser, their crews waving at each other through the viewports. "No," she said. "Not yet. But they will." She turned from the window and walked toward the conference chamber where the future was waiting to be written. The Terran Compact was about to be born. 15 years after the Bun, the galaxy had changed in ways no one had predicted. Secretary General Elena Vasquez stood at the window of her office on Unity Station, the massive headquarters of the Terran Compact. The station orbited a star that the Council had never bothered to name, in a region of space they had dismissed as worthless. Now it was the heart of a new civilization. Through the window, she could see ships from 27 different species coming and going. Sithani traders docked beside human freighters. Krix engineers worked on station repairs alongside robots controlled by the silicon mines. A school ship from the Mr. Shan homeworld carried young students on a tour of human space, learning about a culture their parents had once been taught to fear. Her aide, Marcus Chen, entered the office. He was no longer just a scientist. Over the years, he had become her closest advisor, her friend, and one of the most respected figures in the Compact. "The Hollow's representatives are ready," he said. "They're waiting in the conference room." Elena nodded and turned from the window. After all these years, it still seems strange. Negotiating with a machine intelligence that's older than human civilization. "The Hollow isn't just a machine," Marcus reminded her. "It's a survivor. Like us." They walked together through the corridors of Unity Station. The halls were filled with beings of all shapes and sizes. Elena remembered a time when humans had been alone, isolated, afraid. Now they were part of something greater, something they had built themselves. The conference room was a circular chamber designed to accommodate species with very different physical needs. Floating platforms for beings that couldn't walk, atmosphere bubbles for those who breathed different gases, special lighting for species who saw in different spectrums. At the center of the room, the Hollow's avatar waited. It had chosen to appear as a sphere of soft blue light, neither threatening nor dismissive. A careful choice, Elena knew. The ancient AI understood politics better than any being alive. "Secretary General Vasquez," the Hollow said. "Thank you for meeting with me." Elena took her seat. "You asked to discuss the Council. Your message said you had concerns." "I do." The blue sphere pulsed gently. "For 10,000 years I have watched civilizations rise and fall. The Council has endured longer than most, but they endure through control, not strength, through fear, not respect. And now they are afraid. Of us, of what you represent." The Hollow's voice was calm, almost gentle. "The Compact has grown faster than anything in recorded galactic history. 27 species, united not through conquest or coercion, but through choice. You share technology freely. You accept refugees without question. You treat every species as equals, regardless of their power or development." Marcus leaned forward. "That's a problem for the Council? It is a threat to everything they believe. Their entire system depends on dependency. Species serve the Council because they need Council resources, Council medicine, Council protection. But your Compact offers all of those things without demanding submission in return." The sphere flickered. "They will not tolerate this. They cannot." Elena had suspected as much. Intelligence reports had been troubling for months. Council fleets moving to forward positions. Diplomatic communications growing colder. Minor border incidents that seemed designed to provoke a response. "What do you suggest?" she asked. "I suggest you prepare. Not for war, you are not ready for that. And neither is the Council. But for pressure, for provocation. They will test you. They will try to make you strike first. To prove to the galaxy that humans are the violent savages they claim you are. And if we don't strike? If we refuse to be provoked?" The Hollow was silent for a long moment. "Then they will be forced to reveal their true nature. And when they do, the galaxy will see them as they really are. Not wise leaders, Not benevolent guardians, just frightened tyrants clinging to power. The meeting ended an hour later. Elena walked back to her office alone, lost in thought. The compact had grown beyond her wildest dreams. When she had stood in the council chamber 15 years ago, accepting humanity's banishment, she had hoped they might survive. She had never imagined they might thrive. But the Hollow was right. The council would not accept this challenge to their authority. Sooner or later, there would be a confrontation. She reached her office and found Captain Yuki Tanaka waiting for her. Yuki had aged well. Silver streaked her dark hair now, but her eyes were as sharp as ever. Her trade network had become the backbone of the compact's economy. "You've heard the reports?" Yuki asked. "The council fleet movements?" "Yes. It's worse than the reports say." Yuki handed her a data tablet. "My captains in the border regions are seeing things. Probes into compact space. Ships that run as soon as they're detected. Testing our response times, our sensor coverage, our patrol patterns." Elena studied the data. "They're mapping our defenses. They're planning something. I don't know what, but it's big." Elena set down the tablet and looked out at the stars. "The Hollow thinks they'll try to provoke us. Make us fire first so they can claim self-defense. Will we? No." Elena's voice was firm. "We will not be the ones who start a war. No matter what they do, no matter how hard they push, we will not give them that excuse." Yuki nodded slowly. "And if they attack anyway? Without provocation, then we defend ourselves. Nothing more, nothing less. We don't conquer. We don't destroy. We protect our people and we show the galaxy what we really are." Elena turned to face her old friend. "The council has ruled through fear for millennia. We're going to show everyone that there's another way." A month later, the first serious incident occurred. A council patrol ship accidentally crossed into compact space and fired on a human colony transport. 300 civilians were killed, including 47 children returning from a school trip. The galaxy held its breath, waiting for humanity's response. Elena called an emergency session of the Compact Assembly. Representatives from all 27 member species gathered on Unity Station, their faces grim with anger and grief. "They're testing us," the Sithani ambassador hissed. "They want us to retaliate, to prove we're the savages they say we are." "My people demand justice," growled the Meshershan representative. "Those children were innocent. They must be avenged." The room erupted in argument. Voices rose, accusations flew. For a moment, it seemed the compact might tear itself apart. Then Elena stood. The room fell silent. "I understand your anger," she said quietly. "I feel it too. 300 of my people are dead. 47 children who will never grow up, never fall in love, never see their dreams fulfilled." Her voice was steady, but her eyes were bright with unshed tears. "Every part of me wants revenge, wants to make them pay, wants to show the council what happens when you hurt humanity." She paused, looking around the room. "But that's exactly what they want. They want us angry. They want us reckless. They want us to prove every lie they've ever told about us." She shook her head. "We will not give them that satisfaction." "Then what do we do?" the Keth ambassador asked. "Let them murder our people without consequence?" "No. We demand justice through legal channels. We document every crime. We share the evidence with every species in the galaxy, council members included. We show everyone what the council really is." Elena's expression hardened. "And we prepare. We strengthen our defenses. We protect our people. We make sure this never happens again. And if they attack again, then we defend ourselves. We stop them. We capture their ships, save their crews, and send them home with a message." Elena looked around the room, meeting every eye. "The message is this: we are not your enemies. We don't want war. We don't want revenge. We want peace. But we will defend our people. We will protect our friends. And if you force us to fight, we will show you what humans are really made of." The Sithani ambassador rose slowly. "And what are humans really made of, Secretary General?" Elena smiled, and there was steel in her voice. "We are made of stardust and determination, of hope and stubborn refusal to quit. We are made of every hardship we've ever survived, every obstacle we've ever overcome, every time we've been knocked down and gotten back up." She raised her chin. "We are made of the simple belief that tomorrow can be better than today, that kindness is stronger than cruelty, that the open hand will always triumph over the closed fist. She looked at the assembly, at the gathered representatives of 27 species who had chosen to stand with humanity. The council thinks we're weak because we won't strike first. They think mercy is foolishness. Compassion is vulnerability. Her voice rang through the chamber. They're wrong. Mercy is strength. Compassion takes courage. And we are going to prove it. The assembly rose as one, applauding. In the shadows of the council homeworld, the Vethkai High Speaker watched the broadcast with growing unease. The humans should have been broken by now. Isolated, desperate, begging for readmission to galactic society. Instead, they were stronger than ever. And worse, they were gathering allies. Species that had been loyal to the Council for centuries were whispering about the Compact, about its freedom, about its fairness, about the strange, stubborn species at its heart, who refused to play by the Council's rules. The High Speaker summoned his military advisors. We need to act, he told them, before they grow too strong, before we lose control entirely. A full invasion would be costly, his chief admiral warned. The humans have developed impressive defenses, and their allies. I don't want an invasion. I want a demonstration. The High Speaker's eyes glittered with cold calculation, something that shows the galaxy what happens to species who defy the Council, something that breaks human spirit once and for all. He pulled up a star chart showing human space. Here, he said, pointing to a small colony on the edge of compact territory. New Eden, a farming world, minimal defenses, population of 2 million humans and 500,000 allied species. The Admiral hesitated. An attack on civilians, High Speaker? If the galaxy learned, the galaxy will learn what I want them to learn. That resistance is futile. That defiance is death. The High Speaker smiled coldly. Prepare the strike force. It's time to remind the humans of their place. Far away, on Unity Station, Elena Vasquez felt a chill run down her spine. She did not know what was coming, but she sensed, somehow, that the greatest test of humanity's resolve was about to begin. She looked out at the stars and whispered a prayer to whatever gods might be listening. Give us strength. Give us wisdom. And whatever happens, don't let us become the monsters they think we are. The attack on New Eden came at dawn. 30 Council warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, their weapons already charged. The farming world had only 3 defense satellites and a small patrol vessel. Against a force like this, they would last perhaps 10 minutes. Governor Sarah Mitchell stood on the steps of the Colonial Administration Building, watching the ships descend through the morning sky. Around her, 2 million humans and 500,000 allied species looked up in terror. Sound the evacuation, she ordered quietly. Get everyone to the shelters, especially the children. Governor, her aide stammered, the shelters won't protect us from orbital bombardment. If they fire from space, then we die. Sarah's voice was calm. But we don't panic. We don't beg. We don't give them the satisfaction. She watched the lead warship descending toward the main city. Get our people to safety. I'll handle this. She walked alone to the center of the town square as the Council flagship landed. Its weapons hummed with barely contained energy. A ramp extended, and a Vethkai commander strode out, surrounded by armored soldiers. I am Commander Thex of the Galactic Council Enforcement Fleet, he announced. By order of the High Speaker, this colony is to be destroyed as punishment for humanity's crimes against galactic order. You have 1 hour to evacuate. Any who remain will be considered hostile combatants. Sarah looked at him steadily. 1 hour to evacuate 2.5 million people? That's impossible, and you know it. That is not my concern. No, I suppose it isn't. Sarah gestured at the homes, the schools, the farms surrounding them. These people are civilians, farmers, families. They've never harmed anyone. Most of them have never even left this planet. Commander Thex's expression didn't change. They are human. That is crime enough. Sarah wanted to argue, to plead, to rage against the injustice of it all, but she knew it would accomplish nothing. The Council had already made their decision. This was theater, nothing more. A show of force meant to break human spirit, then let them go. She said quietly, keep me. Destroy the buildings. Make your statement. But let my people live. For a moment, something flickered in the commander's eyes. Surprise, perhaps, or confusion. In his experience, Leaders did not offer themselves for their people. They ran, they hid, they bargained for their own survival. An interesting offer, he said slowly. But the High Speaker's orders were clear. 1 hour. After that, no mercy. He turned and walked back to his ship. Sarah watched him go. Then she activated her emergency communicator. This is Governor Mitchell to all colonial authorities. Begin immediate evacuation. Priority to children and medical cases. Move everyone toward the northern forests. And contact Unity Station. Tell them. She paused, her voice cracking for just a moment. Tell them we tried. The first hour was chaos. Evacuation shuttles filled and launched as fast as they could. Ground vehicles carried thousands toward the wilderness areas the council ships weren't targeting. But it wasn't enough. It was never going to be enough. When the hour ended, over 1 million people remained in the cities. Commander Thex stood on his bridge, watching the countdown reach 0. Open fire, he ordered. His weapons officer hesitated. Commander, there are still civilians. I gave an order. The weapons officer looked at his controls. His hands trembled. But before he could act, an alarm screamed across the bridge. Contact, the sensor officer shouted. Multiple contacts, emerging from FTL right on top of us. The view screen filled with ships, human ships, compact ships, more vessels than Commander Thex had ever seen in one place. They appeared out of nowhere, their drives still glowing from the emergency jump, their weapons already locked on the Council fleet. At their head was the Unity, flagship of the Terran Compact Defense Force. On its bridge, Admiral James Wright, the same man who had discovered the Hollow all those years ago, smiled grimly. Council vessels, this is Admiral Wright of the Terran Compact. You have entered sovereign compact space and threatened compact citizens. Power down your weapons immediately and prepare to be escorted out of our territory. Commander Thex stared at the wall of ships before him. His 30 warships were outnumbered at least 5 to 1. Where had they come from? How had they arrived so quickly? Intelligence had said the humans had no fleet presence within 2 days of New Eden. This is impossible, he breathed. Your intelligence was wrong. Admiral Wright's voice was calm. We've known about your attack plans for 3 weeks. We let you come. We wanted you to see what happens when you threaten our people. You cannot bluff us. You are human. Your species does not have the stomach for war. You're right. We don't want war. We've never wanted war. Wright's expression hardened. But we will defend our people. Every single one of them. Now power down your weapons, Commander. This is your last warning. Commander Thex looked at his tactical display. The human fleet had his ships completely surrounded. Their weapons were vastly more advanced than anything he had seen. If he fired, his entire force would be destroyed in minutes. But the High Speaker had been clear. Show no weakness. Accept no compromise. All ships, Thex ordered. Target the enemy flagship. Prepare to fire on my command. Commander! His first officer grabbed his arm. This is suicide. They'll destroy us. We are soldiers of the Council. We do not surrender to lesser species. On the bridge of the Unity, Admiral Wright watched the Council ships powering up their weapons. Admiral, his tactical officer reported. Enemy vessels are preparing to fire. Wright nodded slowly. He had hoped it wouldn't come to this. He had really, truly hoped. All ships, disable enemy weapons, minimize casualties. I want prisoners, not corpses. The battle lasted 4 minutes. The human fleet moved with precision that seemed almost impossible. Their weapons were surgical, targeting engines and weapon systems while avoiding crew compartments. Ship after ship went dark, drifting helplessly as their systems failed. Commander Thex's flagship was the last to fall. He stood on his darkened bridge, surrounded by emergency lighting and the groans of wounded crew, and watched a human boarding shuttle approaching. We should self-destruct, his first officer said. Die with honor. No. Thex's voice was hollow. They want us alive. I want to know why. The boarding party was small, just 12 humans in light combat armor. They moved through the ship efficiently, securing prisoners with minimal force. When they reached the bridge, their leader removed her helmet. She was young, dark-skinned, calm. Commander Thex, I'm Lieutenant Amara Okonkwo. You and your crew are now prisoners of the Terran Compact. You will be treated humanely, and in accordance with the Universal Rights Convention. Any wounded, will receive immediate medical attention. Thex stared at her. You're not going to kill us? No. Torture us for information? No. Then what? Lieutenant Okonkwo smiled slightly. We're going to feed you, heal your wounded, and send you home. With a message for your high speaker. What message? That we're not your enemies. We never were. But if you threaten our people again, we will stop you. Every time, without fail. And when we do, we will show you the mercy you would never show us. She gestured to her team. Secure the bridge. Get the wounded to medical immediately. The aftermath of the Battle of New Eden echoed across the galaxy. Every species, council member or not, watched the footage. The council fleet attacking innocent civilians. The human response, swift, decisive, but deliberately non-lethal. The prisoners returned home unharmed, well-fed, some still confused by the kindness they had been shown. Secretary General Elena Vasquez broadcast a message that reached every corner of known space. Citizens of the galaxy, you have seen what happened at New Eden. The Council attacked our people without provocation. They came to destroy a world of farmers and families. And when we stopped them, when we defeated their fleet utterly and completely, we did not destroy them. We did not torture them. We did not repay cruelty with cruelty. She paused, letting her words sink in. This is who we are. This is what the Terran Compact stands for. We do not want war with the Council. We do not want revenge. We want peace. We want cooperation. We want a galaxy where every species can thrive, where no one lives in fear of those stronger than themselves. Her expression softened. To the people of the Council worlds, I say this. You are not our enemies. Your leaders have told you lies about us. They have used fear to control you, to keep you obedient, to prevent you from seeing the truth. But the truth is simple. We are not the monsters they claim. We are just people, flawed, struggling, hoping people. Just like you. She straightened, her voice ringing with conviction. The Terran Compact extends its hand to anyone who wants a better future, council member or not, rich or poor, powerful or weak. We will share what we have. We will protect those who need protection. We will build a galaxy where kindness matters more than power. She smiled. The Council has ruled through fear for millennia. But fear is a poor foundation. It crumbles eventually. It always does. She looked directly into the camera. Come home. All of you. There's room enough for everyone. In the council chamber, the Vethkai High Speaker watched the broadcast with growing horror. His great demonstration of strength had become a catastrophe. His fleet had been humiliated. His prisoners had returned singing the praises of human kindness. And now, across council space, species were whispering, wondering, questioning everything they had been told. His aides brought him the latest intelligence reports. 3 more species had formally requested compact membership. 7 others were engaged in secret negotiations. Even among the Vethkai themselves, voices were rising against his leadership. What do we do? His chief advisor asked. The High Speaker stared at the frozen image of Elena Vasquez on his screen. A human woman. A member of a species he had dismissed as primitive, violent, inferior, and yet she had outmaneuvered him at every turn. We wait, he said finally. We watch, and we hope they make a mistake. But even as he spoke the words, he knew the truth. The humans wouldn't make a mistake. They had already won. It was only a matter of time before everyone else realized it. 21 years after humanity was banned from galactic civilization, the Galactic Council held its final session. The once great assembly was barely half full. Species that had belonged to the Council for millennia had simply stopped attending. Others had formally withdrawn to join the Compact. The grand chamber that had once echoed with the voices of 400 species now held fewer than 100. The Vethkai High Speaker stood at his podium, looking out at the empty seats. His gray skin had grown pale over the years. His angular features had sharpened with stress and age. He had ruled the Council for 40 years, guided it through what he had believed would be its greatest triumph. Instead, he had presided over its collapse. The motion before us, he said, his voice barely audible, is the formal dissolution of the Galactic Council and petition for membership in the Terran Compact. The words tasted like ash in his mouth. All in favor? The vote was nearly unanimous. 3 days later, the High Speaker stood at the entrance to Unity Station, waiting for Secretary General Elena Vasquez. She had aged gracefully, silver threading through her dark hair, but her eyes were as sharp as ever. The same eyes that had watched him pronounce humanity's doom 2 decades ago. "High Speaker," she said. "Welcome to Unity Station." "You mean former High Speaker?" he replied bitterly. "The council is dissolved. I am nothing now." Elena studied him for a long moment. "Would you walk with me?" They walked through the corridors of the station in silence. The High Speaker saw Vethkai working alongside humans, laughing, talking, sharing meals. He saw Sathani and Misershan, and dozens of species he recognized. Species that had once bowed to his authority, now moving freely through a place his people had once tried to destroy. "You could have crushed us," he said finally. "After New Eden, after the invasion failed, you had the power to destroy the council completely. Why didn't you?" Elena stopped at a viewport overlooking the docking bay. Ships from 100 worlds came and went below. "Do you know why we were really banned?" she asked. "Because you were dangerous. Because you threatened galactic stability." Elena shook her head. "No, we were banned because the council's founders identified humanity as what they called a Class Omega developmental species. A species with the potential to surpass all others. The ban was never about punishment. It was about containment." The High Speaker was silent. He had suspected, over the years, that there was more to the original decision than the official reasons. But hearing it, confirmed. "You knew," he said. "All along you knew. We discovered the truth about 10 years ago. Ancient records from before the council was formed." Elena turned to face him. "We could have released them, humiliated the council, used them to tear your alliance apart from within. Instead, we kept them secret. Why? Because vengeance isn't justice. Humiliation doesn't heal wounds. We wanted to build something better, not destroy something old." She looked out at the stars. "The council had to fall on its own. Your people had to choose to leave. Otherwise, they would always resent us. Always believe they were conquered rather than welcomed." The High Speaker felt something strange stirring in his chest. It took him a moment to recognize it. "Shame. I spent 20 years trying to destroy you," he said quietly. "I ordered attacks on your colonies. I authorized the strike on New Eden. I did everything in my power to break your spirit, to prove that you were the savages I claimed you were. I know, and yet you're standing here, talking to me as if I were a guest rather than a war criminal." Elena smiled sadly. "You are a guest. This is Unity Station. Everyone is welcome here, even those who once wished us harm. How can you forgive what I did? What the council did?" Elena was quiet for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was gentle. "Forgiveness isn't about pretending the past didn't happen. It's about choosing not to let the past define the future. You made terrible choices. People died because of those choices. That can never be erased." She met his eyes. "But you're here now. The council has voted for peace. Your people have a chance to start over. That matters more than revenge." The High Speaker looked down at his hands. Hands that had signed death warrants. Hands that had ordered bombardments. Hands stained with the blood of innocents. "What happens to me now?" he asked. "That's up to you. You can return to your homeworld. Live quietly. Or," she hesitated, "you could stay. There's going to be a trial for those who ordered the attack on New Eden. Some of your commanders. Some of the politicians who approved the operation. They'll face justice. And me? You authorized the attack. By rights, you should face trial too." Elena studied him carefully. "But the compact believes in rehabilitation as much as punishment. If you're willing to testify, to help us understand how the council went so wrong, there may be another path." The High Speaker closed his eyes. He thought of all the years he had spent building his power, protecting his position, convincing himself that everything he did was for the greater good. He had told himself that humans were dangerous, that the galaxy needed to be protected from them, that the ends justified any means. He had been wrong. About everything. "I'll testify," he said quietly. "I'll tell them everything. And then," he took a deep breath, "then I will accept whatever judgment the compact deems fair." Elena nodded slowly. "That's a good first step." The signing of the new charter took place 1 year later. Representatives from every species in the galaxy gathered in the Grand Assembly Hall of Unity Station. The hall had been designed specifically for this moment. large enough to hold delegates from over 500 worlds, with accommodations for every possible biology. Secretary General Elena Vasquez, now in her 70s but still sharp as ever, stood at the central podium. Beside her were Dr. Marcus Chen, whose medical breakthroughs had saved billions of lives across the galaxy, Captain Yuki Tanaka, whose trade networks had connected the farthest reaches of known space, Admiral James Wright, who had defended humanity at New Eden and a dozen other battles, and the Hollow, the ancient machine intelligence that had waited millennia for this day. Today, Elena said, her voice carrying to every corner of the hall, we begin a new chapter in galactic history. Not the history of humanity alone, not the history of any single species, the history of all of us. Together, she gestured to the document floating in holographic display above the podium. The new charter of the Galactic Compact establishes the principles by which we will live together. Freedom of species, autonomy of worlds, mutual defense, shared knowledge, equal rights for all beings, biological or artificial, ancient or young, powerful or weak. She looked out at the assembled delegates. For millennia, the galaxy was ruled by fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of difference, fear of change. Fear kept species divided. Fear kept knowledge hoarded. Fear kept the strong in power and the weak in chains. Her voice softened. We are here to end that. Not through conquest, not through force, but through the simple radical act of choosing trust over suspicion, cooperation over competition, hope over fear. The delegates began to rise, one by one, adding their signatures to the charter. Sithani and Vethkai, Mistreshan and Keth, silicon mines and organic beings, species that had been enemies for centuries, stood side by side, signing a promise to build a better future. When the last signature was added, the hall erupted in applause. Elena stepped back from the podium, tears streaming down her face. Marcus put his arm around her shoulders. We did it, he said softly. After everything, we actually did it. Elena smiled through her tears. No, they did it. All of them. We just showed them it was possible. The celebrations lasted for days. But life went on as it always does. In the years that followed, the compact grew and flourished. Dr. Chen's Medical Institute, now called the Universal Health Initiative, extended lifespans and cured diseases across the galaxy. Captain Tanaka's trade networks evolved into a system of free exchange that made scarcity almost obsolete. Admiral Wright established the Compact Defense Force, a multi-species fleet dedicated to protecting the weak and maintaining peace. The former High Speaker of the Vethkai spent his remaining years traveling from world to world, telling his story, warning young people about the dangers of fear and hatred, teaching them the lessons he had learned too late. When he died, he was mourned by beings of 100 species, and humanity continued to grow, to explore, to dream. On a small colony world on the edge of known space, a human teacher sat with her students under an alien sky. Among them was a young Vethkai girl, one of many who had been born in the years since the charter was signed. Teacher, the girl asked, why didn't the humans take revenge when they had the chance? When they were strong enough to punish everyone who hurt them? The teacher considered the question carefully. That's a good question, Thera. Do you know what makes humans special? It's not our strength. It's not our technology. It's not our ships or our weapons or our numbers. Then what is it? It's our ability to choose. The teacher smiled. When we were weak, we chose to work harder. When we were alone, we chose to make friends. When we were attacked, we chose to defend without destroying. And when we won, we chose forgiveness over vengeance. She looked up at the stars beginning to appear in the evening sky. Someone had to be the first to break the cycle. Someone had to be the first to extend a hand instead of a fist. Someone had to prove that it was possible to be strong without being cruel. She put her hand on the young girl's shoulder. We decided it might as well be us. The Vethkai girl looked up at the stars too. Out there, somewhere, were the ruins of the old council chambers, the old order, swept away by time and choice and the stubborn belief that tomorrow could be better than today. Will it always be this way? She asked. Will there always be peace? The teacher was quiet for a moment. I don't know, she admitted. The future is never certain. There will be challenges, disagreements, maybe even conflicts. But as long as we remember why we built this, as long as we remember what we almost lost." She smiled. "I think we'll be okay." Above them, the stars burned bright against the darkening sky. Somewhere out there, ships carried travelers between worlds that had once been enemies. Somewhere out there, children of 100 species grew up learning languages their grandparents had never heard. Somewhere out there, the galaxy continued to change, to grow, to become something new. And at the heart of it all, humanity remained. No longer banned, no longer feared. Just one species among many, doing their best to build something worth believing in. It had taken 21 years, countless sacrifices, and the stubborn refusal to become the monsters others said they were. But in the end, the humans had risen stronger than ever, not because they conquered, because they chose to be kind. And in all the vast galaxy, there was no greater strength than that.